Welcome to Ditch the Classroom. This is your host, Ariana Vernier, and I'm so excited that you're here. I'm a teacher turned business coach who is so passionate about helping fellow mamas like you ditch the classroom and pursue your big, hairy, scary dreams. Imagine a life where you could still impact the world, but do so while following your passions and spending more time with your babies. In Ditch the Classroom, we'll explore ways you can do just that. Myself, guest experts, and amazing teachers who have also built a successful business will share tools, tips, and resources to help you ditch the classroom too. Are you ready? Here we go. Before we hop into today's episode, I had to let you in on something special I created just for you. If you've been wondering if freelancing or virtual assistance is right for you and just want to get your feet wet to see if it's a good fit, then you need my Ditch the Classroom toolkit. This toolkit comes with 2 video modules to help you figure out what services you want to offer, as well as how to package your services in a way that will help you attract clients quickly and replace your income faster. There are also 2 special bonuses included. Bonus number 1 is the Set Your Prices video, so you can take the guesswork out of what to charge. Bonus number 2 is the Top 8 Places to Find Paying Clients guide. Right now, you can grab the Ditch the Classroom toolkit and both bonuses for a steal of a price, only $27. But hurry up, because this amazing discounted price won't last long. You can grab your spot at arianavernier.com/ditch-the-classroom or find the link in the show notes. All right, let's get to the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Ditch the Classroom podcast. We have a very special guest today, Melissa Batt. She is a faith-driven life and business coach. And in this episode, we're going to talk about how important it is to slow down and become intentional with life so that you don't miss some of the things that could be going on right in front of you, like self-sabotage, unhealthy habits, and the needs of others. So I know this is very important for us as moms to really slow down and be paying attention to all the things in our life and our kids' lives. So I'm really excited to chat about this today. So welcome, Melissa. We're excited to have you.
Oh my gosh, I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Yes, of course.
I'm honored.
I love to start the episode just having you share a little bit about yourself, how you got into being a life and business coach. Yeah, all the things. So
awesome. Well, I love entrepreneurship. Loved entrepreneurship before I even became an entrepreneur. I'm a mom of 4 kids. The oldest is going to be 20. The youngest is 9. And I was in direct sales. Like, I always believed in direct sales, but I was not one that was like, that's not for me. Until one day I moved and knew I needed something to get myself out of the house and was like, you know what, I'm going to do direct sales. And so that's kind of how I got into entrepreneurship, which sounds weird because some people will be like, that's not entrepreneurship. But hang with me, because it totally, like, I learned everything on what not to do, probably through direct sales. I became, top leader in our company and 6-figure income. And really just, I hustled, used my business as an escape from all the things and was running really fast. Didn't even know that I use work as an escape, but when you're doing something super fun and you love and you're passionate about it, you can very much kind of turn to that when things get hard. And things kind of got hard for me, and therefore I ignored the hard and did what I loved, which, got me to where I was, but it also totally wrecked some other things as well. So from there, actually, I resigned in November from the direct sales company I was a part of and decided to go all in on the life and business coaching. It's something that I truly always wanted to do. I was going to go back to school, become a psychologist, love helping women, been coaching women. Obviously when you're a top leader in a company, you have a large team. And so positively impacting women is just what I'm passionate about. And so what I'm going to talk about today is really like the things I learned the hard way. So hopefully I can help women not learn the hard way from having to go through what I have gone through.
Awesome. Well, I'm super excited what we're going to dive into today, but I do want to mention, because you mentioned that direct sales was kind of your first nudge into entrepreneurship. And I was the same. I did direct sales for 3 years. I did not get anywhere near the top, but it did give me a lot of skills that I use in my business today. So I know that a lot of my listeners have either tried it or considered trying it. And it can teach you a lot of the skills that you need in
I say it's
entrepreneurship.
like, it's personal development with a paycheck.
Yeah.
That's the way, like, I mean, when I can't remember, I think Bob Heilig said that some point. And I was like, exactly. Like you learn all of these things that you didn't even know you needed to know. That's good for life and in business, but also you can get a paycheck and have that flexibility of entrepreneurship. So yeah, I learned a ton and definitely would not be where I am today without the experience that I had there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just wanted to mention that because I know a lot of my listeners are scared of ditching the classroom because they don't think that they have any skills outside of that. But if you've already done direct sales, then you probably have more skills than you realize. So I just wanted to touch on that before we moved into the rest.
Well, and a lot of teachers are like, they leave the classroom because of direct sales. A lot of people, like, that's their first step of like leaving, or it can be a great way to create additional income to help you be able to transition and kind of pivot out as well.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Sorry for the little sidetrack, y'all, but I just wanted to mention that because I thought it was important. So I want to start by asking you, why are you so passionate about helping women slow down and become more intentional with their day-to-day life and activities?
Ooh, okay, so I'm definitely passionate about this for several reasons. We don't even have enough time to get into all of the nitty-gritty details, but I will tell you the biggest thing is I did not know what I didn't know until I had to slow down and start paying attention. We moved from 2 years ago. Well, I can't remember. 2019. I can't do math. In 2019, we moved again from South Carolina to Kentucky. And in that move, it was a very abrupt move. Like the joke was on me. I thought we were going to live in South Carolina forever. And then this opportunity came for my husband's job. And I was like, take the job and just drive back and forth and come home on the weekend until you find something better. We were in the middle of building a house, again, wasn't planning on leaving. And then all of a sudden was like, oh, we're going to pay to have you move and you're going to come here and it's all going to be paid for. And he's in a 2-year contract. And so I was like, I guess we're moving. And so in that move, I have 4 kids and that was hard. Like, first of all, I don't do well with change, but I was also not only managing my emotions, but my kids' emotions as well. And it was during that time that I realized, like, I have to slow down because my business should not be the top priority. A lot of the time we say, like, what are your priorities? And I would say God first, family second, and then my business. But the truth was, if you looked at my day and how I was spending my time, very much my business was coming first. And so I was neglecting my marriage. I was neglecting what I could have done in parenting. I was neglecting my friends, my mom, my sisters. Like, I wasn't being intentional with that as well. I was just kind of running, doing my thing. And as I had to slow down and start paying attention because I knew that my kids needed that time, like it was kind of like a red flag at that time. I was like, okay, got to pay attention. Oh, I hear you, God. So I kind of we were allowed to take like 30 months, I think, of leave in the direct sales company I was with. So I took that time to really just be present And in that time, like I realized I was a stay-at-home mom in the beginning. And so I realized how much stuff that I had forgotten that I actually enjoyed. And I realized then that, when I put my phone down, my kids would come talk to me. My kids were not coming to talk to me. And I would be like, they don't talk to me. Well, it's because they think I'm busy and therefore they weren't talking to me. But when I had my phone down and was just there, not working, you can't see my air quotes there, but they started talking to me, and it just opened this door of so many different things. And in that, I realized that I had a child that struggled with anxiety. I had another child that definitely had some signs of depression. Those were probably two of the biggest things. And I also just realized how much I was neglecting things like my marriage. I didn't realize I was neglecting my marriage. I would think like, we have a great relationship. I'm married over 21 years now. We got married really young, high school sweethearts, 19.
Aww.
I was 19 when we got married. I know people are like, y'all were not going to make it, but we've made it this far. But in that, we definitely, I neglected a lot of things. And so slowing down definitely helped me see where the cracks were. And I think that is the important thing about slowing down, looking for those cracks, looking for those little areas where there's cracks in the foundation.
Yeah, agreed. I think for some of us, like the motherhood, the really paying attention to those small details comes natural and easy. But I know for myself, kind of like you were, sometimes my business is a lot easier than motherhood. And so I'll focus on that just because, not because I love my business more, but because it's easier than figuring out my 2-year-old and her craziness.
Yes. Well, and I struggled with postpartum depression. And so when I first originally started direct sales, I had a second grader, a kindergartner, and an 8-month-old or so. And so I had postpartum depression with the 8-month-old. And then I had another child in between. And so I went from having 3 kids to having 4 kids. And in that, like, parenting just got really, really hard. And it was super easy. I didn't realize at the time that I use work as an escape. My dad does that. And I was always super annoyed, but I did not see that I have that same trait where like work, everyone does something, right, to escape naturally. And, yes, working is better than, drugs or alcohol or whatever, but it doesn't mean that it's the best. And so recognizing that and knowing, okay, this is something that I very easily, when I get stressed, I go into work mode. And some people do volunteering, like I know a lot of people, and I did that as well at some point. I would volunteer my way out of dealing with life. And so anything like that, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but recognizing it and knowing that you have to keep it in bounds, I guess, versus just letting it continue to keep you from doing what needs to be done to be healthy. And neglected, I talk a little bit about the unhealthy habits. Definitely was not taking care of my body. I was not exercising. I wasn't spending a lot of time with my friends. Like, those are all things that are super important as women to do. To be taking care of this body that God has given us is super important, because, if you want to be here to see grandkids, or you want to be here to, see your kids get married or whatever, you have to be paying attention to your body and nurturing it to be healthy enough to, be here.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely.
I could go on and on. I'm super it is something that I see now, like women, like, come on, we have to do better and taking care of ourselves.
Yes, definitely. We all do. We all can tend to slack on ourselves and just pour into other things, but we need to be pouring into ourselves first. I just was saying this on another interview I did. We have to pour into ourselves first before we can fill others' cups and any other cup in our life, our business cup, anything. Because
if not, we're just running on empty and we're not good for anything. I mean, I would like to think there was good that came out of it, but imagine how much better off we can be when we take care of ourselves.
Yeah, definitely.
We're not machines. We are not robots. And as much as we would love to be super women, we are not.
Yep. So you kind of already mentioned a little bit, but was there anything else besides some of the issues with your children that you noticed when you started slowing down and paying a little more attention?
Well, besides the depression and the anxiety in my kids, I realized, that I was using work as an escape. I also realized that God had put this dream in my heart 10 years before, and I was putting it off. And I knew that I needed to do that thing. And so I really started, I think, just leaning into God and my relationship with him. And I know that I would say God was my priority, and I was putting him first, but I really wasn't. And so just leaning into him and doing what was uncomfortable and paying attention, just definitely, I feel like I'm all over the place right now, but it really is like, once you start noticing and paying attention and you slow down, like, it is amazing the things you recognize. Like, oh, could that be God speaking to me? Probably. Like, just the little things, and just knowing I needed to take care of my body. That is something that I would not have known until I started slowing down, or noticing my own depression and issues with anxiety. I didn't know I had anxiety issues. I just thought I was weird and like kind of, I say weird, but I did. Like, I was like, it's just me. This is not, like, I didn't know that it was anxiety. But the more I started paying attention and slowing down, like, you mean I'm not the only one that feels this way? Yeah, I'm not the only one that feels that way, or feels like weird in certain situations. And so paying attention has really allowed me to start healing from past trauma, and just knowing little things that I do, the self-sabotage that I kind of talked about. One of the things I learned was that I don't like to ask for help. So I will try to do it on my own and then be annoyed because no one's helping me.
Same.
And that is self-sabotage because of fear of rejection.
Yep.
I didn't grow up with what I would call, another air quote, normal childhood. My dad was an alcoholic, and my mom and dad were divorced, and there were a lot of times that he never showed up. And I did not realize that because of like just something as simple as that, which to me, I'm like, was it simple? I don't know that I would say that's simple, but at the same time, I did not know that I was still having issues related to, the fear of rejection based on, my childhood and growing up, and some of those fears and insecurities that I had, until I started slowing down. I'm like, oh, so when I go into panic mode and get super angry and start screaming at my kids, like I can actually slow down and figure out, like, okay, if this is not serving me, this is not serving my kids, how can I do better in this? And that is asking for help.
Yeah. And I love what you said about slowing down and listening to the messages that God is giving you. I think so often, especially y'all listening, your teachers, your moms, you got so much shit going on in your lives that sometimes it's really hard to hear that God is blasting you with this message. And there's a quote, and I'm probably going to butcher it, and I have no idea who said it, but it's like, you'll get this nudge, and at first it's like a feather brushing you. And then if you keep ignoring it, eventually it's going to be a piano falling on you. So slowing down and being able to hear that little nudge from God right away when it's the feather is a whole lot easier than when it's the dang piano.
Yes. And I've had a lot of pianos fall on me. It's funny that you should say this, because on Facebook, I saw, like the past memories or whatever. there was something that came up in my news in my Facebook memories. And I was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about this. So last year around this time, I woke up with this like panic. And like for 2 days, do you ever get this like, oh yeah, I need to talk to my kids about this? And I have had like the stranger danger conversations several times. But that day I was like, they were spending a lot of time on social media and playing the game Roblox. I don't know how you say it. They tell me over and over and over, and I can never remember. But anyways, like I just felt like I needed to have a conversation with them about that. And I kept forgetting. Well, I woke up that morning and I was like, I got to talk to my kids. Like I just knew that and that was a total God thing. And so I talked to them and my daughter starts crying. And that's always a sign that I'm like, I guess it's a good thing I listened to this. What is happening? Well, come to find out, my 12-year-old, who was 11 at the time, he was playing this game with someone he did not know, which I thought they had that locked down. You know, I've had those conversations over and over and over. Don't give out your address. Don't tell people your name, blah, 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 all of that stuff. Well, he had done that because this kid was like, oh, but he's my friend. I'm like, but have you met him in real life? Blah, blah, blah. Go into all of that. He had become Instagram friends with him, and which means that he had saw like where he lived and like all of this stuff. And I'm like, okay, that right there was God nudging me to have those conversations, go back, pay attention to the kids, like security settings to make sure that it's locked down so no one can even friend them, blah, 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 all that. Yeah, that is an example of a nudge. And I'm so glad that I paid attention to it instead of ignoring it, because I don't know what would have happened. I mean, nothing happened besides my kids got grounded, and I was able to share that story with other people on Facebook to, my Facebook friends, to remind them, like, check your kids' settings and don't assume because you've told them once, twice, or 100 times that you don't need to tell them again, because they will need that reminder over and over and over. Kind of like we do. We always need the reminders.
Yep. Definitely. So what are some of the lessons that you've learned since you've taken the time to really slow down and be more intentional?
I love my life. I think I realized that I was chasing a lot of things that I wasn't chasing after God. I was chasing status. I was chasing income. I was chasing a title sometimes in my direct sales company, but I wasn't living intentionally with purpose. I was going through the motions on this hamster wheel, doing the same thing every day. And a lot of the time wishing the days away, especially in those hard seasons of motherhood, when the depression was really bad, just wishing the days away and not being intentional with my life. And we only get one life to live. And if we can be intentional and really pay attention to how we spend our time, creating those boundaries and knowing, okay, this is where I want to go, and start creating that life. If you think 10 years from now, how old will your kids be? And what do you want that life to look like? 20 years from now, what do you want that life to look like? There were a lot of times, I would be like, I want to be debt free. I want to be happily married still. I want to be like really enjoying my life and all of that. But I'm still using my credit cards. That's not getting me debt free. Am I really spending intentional time with my husband? Not always. And in that, like, if you want to be happily married in 20 years, we've got to spend some time there, right? Investing and pursuing what we want. I told you I had this dream 10 years ago. I think I told you this vision of this nonprofit that I want to create for women and moms who just need a hand up. So many times, like I grew up kind of not in a good financial place. And so I want to be able to help women who just need a hand up. Like if the car is always breaking down, or, like they just like they get to a place and then it's like knocked right back down, and then over and over and over and over. I want to be able to help them kind of get over that hump and then be able to live their best life instead of going right back into that cycle. And so if I want to do that, like, when am I going to start doing that? My friend was like, you've been talking about this for 10 years and you haven't started. What are you doing about it? Like, you're not doing a single thing about it. So when I started slowing down, I remembered that dream and said, today's the day. Like, we are going to do this. And so over the last 2 years now, I have been pursuing this dream of this nonprofit and created the plan and how it's going to look and trusting God in it. Yeah, of course, do I want it like yesterday? Absolutely. But God is really teaching me a whole lot in the process of like doing it. But that is probably the biggest thing. And slowing down. It's just being intentional.
Yeah, I love that because I think it's really easy for us to future forecast or like dream about what we want for the future, but what steps are you taking to get you there? Like, you can't just dream it. You got to be taking steps towards it.
Yes, you got to create a plan.
Yep.
And do the plan. I don't know about you, but there are plenty of times when I've created a plan, but then I've never looked. Like, I spent hours and hours and hours creating a plan, normally based off of what other people said. Oh, well, this worked for me. And so I'm like, okay. So I spent 2 hours making this plan and never look at it again because it's so overwhelming. It's not even about my goals. It was about their goals and all of that. And so I definitely think creating the plan, like, and then working the plan and creating the boundaries. So many, we do not, as women, I would say the majority of us struggle with boundaries and creating boundaries and being intentional with our time. We say yes to way too many things, and then say no to the wrong things because we're normally saying no to the things that make us uncomfortable. And who knows, we don't grow if we don't leave our comfort zone. We say no to things that we don't know how to do. And again, we got to know that you don't know until you know, because you learned and you can learn new things.
Definitely. Yep. I definitely agree. This has been so, I think really helpful. It's not super tangible. Like I know so many of my listeners always want like the next thing they need to do to ditch the classroom, but the most important steps are not the super tangible steps. It's the inner work on ourselves. And so that's what I think you've done an amazing job of getting across, is taking the time to slow down, pay attention, to hear those nudges, to hear the messages coming that we're missing. I think all of it is so important, and we can't just skip it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think if they do want the tangible is, if you want to ditch the classroom, create your plan. Plan. Like, what are you doing today to get yourself to a place where you can leave? When I ended up leaving direct sales, which I thought, I was the girl that was like, I'm going to do this forever. Don't put God in a box. First of all, don't put God in a box. He wants to use you in so many different areas. And even the things that you think you're not good at, there's probably the areas he wants to use you the most, because then you have to depend on him instead of doing it in your own strength. But ditching the classroom, I think if you want to do that, you've got to create the plan and then work the plan, create those boundaries, start paying attention and being like, my time is valuable. Yeah. So many of us forget that you only have so many hours in a day. I have a quote here from my 17-year-old. He wrote this and put this on my desk probably 2 years ago. It says, value time over money. You can always make more money. You can never make more time. I believe it's a Gary Vee quote, and I'm not super happy that, like, he's listening to a whole lot of Gary Vee. I don't know if you know who Gary Vee is, but like a lot of bad words. And I was like, of all the people, you're going to choose him. But I'm also very proud because I'm like, yay, which I know that kid has an entrepreneurial spirit. Aww. And so I'm like, yay. But anyways, how cool is it though that a teenager, a boy, would leave that? First of all, that was a wake up call for me, because if a teenager is leaving that on your desk and wants to spend time with you, you should definitely lean into that, because there's a reason. Yep. They don't just like, hey, let me go spend some time with my mom. There's a reason for it. And so I have that here. We have to be intentional on what we're doing and work the plan. You want to leave the classroom. What are you going to do? How are you going to get there? And do those things. It really is that simple.
And like you said, don't just create the plan, do the plan.
Yes. Yeah. And have faith, trust the process, because it is going to be hard. Prepare for the resistance and know that if you feel God calling you to leave the classroom, then you have to know resistance is going to come. If the resistance is going to come, expect the resistance and know that it's coming. I talk a lot about circle the wagon, which someone was like, what does circle the wagon mean? Circle the wagon means you're getting things in order. Is your home, like whatever's out of alignment, it's those cracks in the foundation, looking at those and like, okay, I need to be paying attention to these things, getting things in order. If I don't even know where that term came from, but I think of a wagon. I'm like, if you're going to go on a long trip and you're towing a wagon, you're going to go around and you're going to check, are the tires flat? Is everything tied down? Those kind of things. Start paying attention to those things and know the resistance is going to come. Prepare for it as much as possible and lean into God in the process to trust what he's doing, because it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard, but you can do it.
Bam. Mic drop. Nothing to add. That was awesome. Well, this has been so helpful. Like I already said, I think that my listeners are really going to take a lot out of this episode, and I really appreciate you sharing. And I know that it's going to be really beneficial for them. So do you have any resources that you think would be helpful for my listeners in regards to slowing down and paying more attention in their life?
I do. So I did a masterclass on Stop the Sabotage, and I actually created it as a freebie for your audience so they can go and take a listen. And it's all about stopping the sabotage, because we self-sabotage in so many ways. And some of the ways, like it's obvious, and other areas it's not so obvious. But I do think that masterclass will be super beneficial for, creating the plan, sticking with the plan instead of being like, nope, this is too hard. Leaning in when it's hard is the hardest, but you can do it. You can do it.
Yes. Yeah. So for those listening, as always, I will have the links in the show notes. So if you want to go grab that freebie, which I already know is going to be so amazing for y'all, check out the show notes. This has been such a pleasure to have you on today, Melissa. Where can people come and connect with you, learn more from you, and become your best friend?
Yes. So, several things. I am not doing the best at posting on Instagram currently, but I am doing stories most Mondays through Friday. I take the weekend off because social media is not going to run my life. I run my life with the help of God. So definitely check me out on Instagram. It's Melissa Batt Official. Facebook, same, Melissa Batt Official. And then my website is melissabatt.com. And I am all about real talk. So one thing that people know me for is I tell it like it is, which I am this month. God is showing me all these areas of where I'm not super gentle. And so I'm working this month on being more gentle, because gentleness is not my strong suit. But I pride myself on just being real and authentic and leaning into the things that are hard and acknowledging the elephants. So many times we feel things and we dismiss them instead of wait, why am I having this thought? Or why aren't we talking about this? And so I would love that conversation to continue on Instagram or my Facebook business page, or just, send me a message.
Yeah. Again, I will have those links for everybody to connect with Melissa in the show notes. Thank you again so much for coming on today. It has been such a pleasure to have you, and I'm just so grateful.
Well, thank you so much for having me on here. Again, I want your audience to be super intentional with their time. So my prayer is that this is super valuable in helping them move forward, and just know that you can do this, guys. Like, if you want to ditch the classroom, you can totally do it. And I'm cheering for you.
Aww.
And thank you so much for having me. I can't remember if I already said that or not, but I loved getting to know you, and I can't wait for you to be able to interview you.
I'm excited. I can't wait. Well, thank you so much, guys, for listening today. Make sure to take a screenshot of this episode, post it on Insta, tag Melissa and myself so that we can get this message out to even more women who I know need it so badly. I love y'all so much, and we will see you next week. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Before you go, make sure you take a minute to subscribe to the show, leave a rating and review, and check out the show notes for a free gift to help you ditch the classroom. If you loved today's episode, can you help me share the message by taking a screenshot, tagging me on Instagram @ariana.vernier, and sharing it with your friends so we can help more mamas ditch the classroom and follow their dreams. Until next week, y'all, keep following the dreams that were placed in your heart so you too can ditch the classroom.